digital TV USB dongles, the ones you can buy for $20 on eBay.
Yep.
Which is kind of a bit different from the megabuck front ends that the professionals use. So they're a bit surprised at that, and it's only got a narrow operating bandwidth or receiving bandwidth of 2.4 megahertz. So that, once again, is down the bottom end of performance. And there are others which can do better than that, but this is about the cheapest SDR that you can do. And this is made possible by some very clever chaps who've written special software drivers which repurposes these digital TV dongles to be able to capture raw data. And so that turns these cheap dongles into SDRs, software-defined receivers. Now, of course, the receiver has to be preceded by filters and low noise amplifiers to prevent overload and bring up the signal level. Basically, that's the core of the receiving side of it. And that's built into basic automatic daily observation. I have a robotics scheduler that carries out their daily observation, just switches on and records data for an hour a day at the appropriate time when Vera's passing overhead. And that 1 hour's worth of data is in complex binary format called IQ or quadrature. And that's then converted to a standard format that is familiar to professional astronomers, which is called a filter bank format. And that basically breaks the signal down into frequency channels. So it splits up the 2.4 megahertz into smaller channels. I split it into 32 channels. And that's needed for a process called de-dispersion. Dispersion is caused by the signal travelling through the interstellar medium, the ISM. And what it does to the signal is that even though the signal started out at the pulsar at the same time, as it travels through, the lower frequency part of that broadband signal gets delayed. So by the time it arrives here at my antenna at 430 megahertz, the top end of the highest frequency part of the signal arrives about 16 milliseconds before the low end. So if you want to get the best sensitivity, you've got to make sure that those two signals arrive at the same time, so you can stack them on top of each other and add them to get the best signal. And that's what de-dispersion is. You take those frequency channels and you artificially remove the delay between those frequency channels so they all line up in time. And then so you have one time series data record, and then you fold that at the period of the pulsar to stack up the pulses. Because of the very small antenna and the narrow bandwidth I've got, my system is not sensitive enough to see single pulses. I have to take an hour's worth of pulses and stack them on top of each other so the pulses stack up and the noise decreases, and that allows me to bring the pulse out of the noise. To do that, I could just fold once at one predicted period, but the point of my system is I'm trying to measure period and I'm trying to detect a change in period, so it's no good just folding at the predicted period, because one day a glitch comes along and you'll fold at the wrong period. What I do is I test fold the data over a period range of plus or minus 5 parts per million around the predicted period, and I find the period which gives the best signal, and that becomes my daily period measurement. As I'm comparing and looking at my day-to-day measurements, if I see a big jump in my measurement, that's an indication that Vera has glitched. And I think Jim's covered it pretty extensively in previous podcasts. But a glitch is a sudden drop in the rotation period, which for Vera happens every 3 years or so. So at the end of the processing chain, I have a clear pulse profile, which is the proof of the pudding. And yes, after many failed attempts, seeing my first real detection had me dancing around the house. I was very, very happy. And that first detection happened in May 2017. And so now I've done nearly 2.5 years of these daily observations.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Now, let's move on now then to the 2nd of February earlier this year in 2019. Am I correct that you at the Hawkesbury RAO captured the glitch as it happened?
Yes, well, technically yes, but as I mentioned, I cannot see the individual pulses. I'd need a 20-metre dish or so for that. So maybe a short summary of what happened at the time might be helpful.
Yes, please.
So on the day, Vera entered the antenna beam about 12:15 a.m. Saturday morning local time and exited at 1:15 a.m, so about an hour later. So the glitch occurred about 1:10 a.m, so that was the last 5 minutes of that observation. So as my period measurement averages over the hour, I didn't see it initially in my results because the last 5 minutes observation would be swamped by the first 55 minutes observation. But the next day, when it had glitched, it was at the new period for the whole observation, it showed a clear drop in the measured period. So a glitch had occurred. Now, Parkes, John Sarkisian at Parkes initially constrained the latest time because of when he did his observation, but he had a 2 weeks break before that observation. So the earliest time Parkes could give was approximately 14 days prior. Because I do daily observations, it meant I could initially constrain the earliest time of the glitch to within 24 hours. And because of the way that I do my measurements, I don't do time of arrivals or OAs as professionals do. I actually make an on-spot period measurement. I was able to estimate straight away that it was, well, I said 2.3 plus or minus 0.1 parts per million, and it turned out to be 2.49 parts per million actual. So I was in the ballpark with that as well. These constraints and when it actually occurred was later confirmed by the Fermi-Lat gamma ray data, which was pointing at Vera at the time of the glitch also. So only my radio data and the Fermi-Lat gamma ray data contain the Vera glitch.
That's so awesome. Okay, well, let's go into a bit of propeller head detail now. And could you tell us about the software you use and how you use it to look at Vera? You've already talked about the folding. Do you want to mention any other targets that you have and the challenges that you have to face with software and analysis?
Yeah, sure. Well, software is a major factor. Everything is done digitally after the initial analog to digital conversion in the little dongle I was talking about. Because I had a lack of experience with Linux, I didn't initially use professional applications which are available. So I wrote the custom code for my processing in C# in Windows. Of course, and that goes against what normally you would do in radio astronomy. Of course, you'd use Linux and operating system. You wouldn't do it in Windows. Well, I did the opposite to what most people would do. So I had to write all that code myself, except for the dongle driver I was mentioning before, and of course the fast Fourier transform source code, which is the thing that allows me to break the data into those filter bank format into different channels. That was written by others. And I think, there was one AstroPy script that was written by another person as well. But all the rest I wrote myself. So I ended up with a Windows GUI, which automates the data capture, the processing, the analysis, and also it uploads to a website so people can see. Because that was one of the important things for me to do. It's one thing to take some data and then discover something in it and then say, oh, look, I found this in my data 3 days ago. Whereas if I put it up on the website, it was there. People, in most cases, people could see it before I would see it, because if they were sitting there watching it, it would come up. And if I was away somewhere, they would see it before I would. And on a number of occasions, people would email and say, oh, there was something interesting in your results today, Steve. And I said, oh, okay, I'll go and have a look. So it's a sort of a set and forget operation. It's been running for over 2 years. Initially, it was just my own software, but later on I did some integration with that professional software by rather clunky means. The main code would run on Windows, uploads results to the cloud, along with a semaphore file. A Linux machine would be monitoring and looking for that semaphore file in the cloud, and then it would download some data from the cloud and run a professional program. The one I used was a prep file. It's out of the Presto suite of applications, and then produce a result which were then uploaded to the website. I had 2 computers doing it, one Windows, communicating through the cloud to a Linux machine and processing data. So that's something that I wanted to fix. So I'm now rewriting all my C# Windows code to run exclusive on a Linux machine, and I've had to learn Linux, Python and graphics plotting packages and so on. I'm also involved in a major project to add accurate timestamping to the data so I can generate TOAs, which are time of arrivals of each individual pulse.
That sounds very cool. Now, on one level it sounds like you've done a lot of this yourself, but we know that it takes a village to raise a radio astronomer. Tell us about your experiences with mentoring by the professional radio astronomy community.
Yeah, sure, Brendan. It's an important topic to talk about. It's something which affects amateurs quite a lot. If you are an optical amateur astronomer, you would have a choice. Well, in Sydney here, I can imagine I could, within reasonable driving distance, maybe 3 or 4 astronomy clubs that you go to and get all sorts of information and help and guidance about using an optical telescope. If you rock up to those clubs and say, oh, I'm interested in radio astronomy, then you're out of luck. I think there's probably 2 that I know of. There's probably 3, but I'd say 2 clubs which are heavily into radio astronomy in Australia. And as far as I know, they're not in Sydney, which is where I live.
Yeah.
So you're on your lonesome, more or less. Now, I've been fortunate enough to had contact with a number of professional individuals over the years, and they've given advice and information. The list is long. I might mention Joe Taylor, Sarah Buchner, Matthew Bales, George Hobbs, John Sarkisian, and, of course, Dr. Jim Palfreyman, which obviously is a name familiar to all of us. Now, amateurs struggle to be taken seriously. Now, this is understandable. Pros get a lot of spam and, flat earthers and so on. So you've got to break that barrier. I think the professionals probably thought initially that what I was trying to do wasn't really possible, but they still answered questions, which is a credit to them. The other responsibility an amateur has is you need to show that you've done your homework and you're not wasting their time. If you can show you've done your homework, then they will respond. Now, Jim was especially tolerant and patient, as he's already told you. And I owe a great deal to Jim, because without Jim, possibly there'd be no mention in that ATEL 12466, which announced the glitch. There would be no meeting with Dame Jocelyn Bell Burnell, and also possibly the opportunities which followed those particular events. Now, Jim gave me a complete tour of the 26th metre down in Hobart, and also the Great Rubin Museum. and I had the pleasure of listening to Vera in real-time audio, and Jim discussed his past work and future ideas, and that was a real privilege. I also had several visits to ATNF, to CSIRO, Marsfield, where I met George Hobbs and John Sarkisian, Dick Manchester, amongst others.
Yep.
Tim Bateman contacted me because of my glitch result, and he gave myself and my wife Pam an extensive tour of MOST, that upgrade down at MOST, down near Canberra. And I was really in my element, being shown by Tim over all the gear down there. It was really a terrific day. So all in all, I'm grateful for the guidance and support that professionals have given me. I've found them very friendly, very helpful people.
Very good. Okay, now, I believe you've formed a small group of amateurs around the world who are interested in pulsar detection. Tell us about this, Steve.
Gladly. There's only probably a handful of amateur people doing pulsar detections around the world. And amateur pulsar detection is a difficult challenge. So many things that have to go right, and if one of them goes wrong, then you don't succeed. So when you're trying to sort that out, it's good to have others who are at the same level trying to do the same thing. So I thought there was a need to create a dedicated group to pool information and improve communication to facilitate that. So it's mainly people that are moving from the curiosity stage to do scientific grade projects. The only requirement to be in the group is an interest, but importantly, a commitment to scientific methods, which is important for pulsars because pulsars are a pulse. So there are many things that happen on Earth which mimic a pulsar. For example, I live across the road from a 600-acre farm which has 5 kilometres of electric fencing. So it's, when we had the old analogue phones, you pick up the phone, you could hear tick, tick, tick from the electric fence. On certain days, I could hear up to 3 of them just ticking away. And of course, that's exactly what a pulsar looks like. And so you have to be careful that you're not fooled by those sorts of things. And that's just one of the many things that mimic pulsars here on Earth. So commitment to scientific methods is important. You can't just take one reading, look at a result which only has a significance of, say, 4 sigma or something and say, oh, look, I've detected a pulsar. You've got to be able to repeat it. You've got to be able to show by other means. You've got to be able to show, look, it's got dispersion. So it's obviously come from outer space. It hasn't come from next door's lawnmower.
Yep.
So that's the commitment to scientific methods. So that was a requirement. So there are about 25 members now, and about maybe half a dozen out of that 25 are actually doing pulsar detection. And so I built a website about pulsar detection and the problems that you would have, and also I list those amateurs which have successfully detected pulsars and have verified that detection.
Okay, what's the name of that website?
The name of the website is Neutron Star, which is just one word, .joataman.net. Joataman is JOATAMAN.net.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Now, the microphone's all yours, Steve, and you have the opportunity to give us your favourite rant or rave about one of the challenges that we face in the sciences, or science denialism, or career paths, or our quest for new knowledge, or even science itself. The mic's all yours.
Oh, dangerous license. I can hear my family saying, oh no. Okay. Basically, I consider myself as an amateur science, so I tend to look at the world that way. Sometimes it's not always socially acceptable and it might offend people, but that's what I tend to do. My pet peeve, I guess, is ideology. Now, ideology is okay. There are a lot of good things in ideology because it orders things and tidies things up. But I think it can have serious consequences when it's isolated from the real world. Now, ironically, most ideologues believe they are in the real world, but sometimes they're not. Now, problems arise when people persist in their ideology, which is contrary to evidence. Particularly, I'm talking about cherry-picking data to support a particular view,
Yep.
or engaging in conspiracy theories and so on.
Yep.
I recently heard a particle physicist say that scientists are anti-politicians. What he meant by that was scientists are seeking data to break theories, not seeking data to support their ideology.
Yep.
I think politicians, leaders, but more importantly, those who vote for them in a democracy need to cast aside ideologies and really look at the evidence with an open mind. In my opinion, it's never been a more important time to be standing up for science, and it certainly has taken a battering from many sides lately.
I'm right with you on that one, Steve. Thank you very much. Now, is there anything else that we should watch out for in the near future? What are you keeping your eye on?
Well, I'm fascinated by fast radio bursts, FRBs.
Yep.
Not sure whether in my location here I could do anything, but nevertheless, I'm looking at that. It's really interesting, FRBs, because they're early days. Nobody's sure what they are, or don't even have a good idea what they are. So to be watching the evolution of the theories, as more data is collected and refinement of those theories is going to be a really interesting period of time. And I'm glad that I'll be able on the sidelines sit and watch that. It's also a good time for the non-professionals because most of the stuff that's coming in is observational. And so the information that's being produced in papers is not yet buried between pages and pages of high-level maths. So it's very accessible at the moment, as it was, in the early days of pulsars when they were just doing basic observation, and so it was very accessible. I have a bit of a blue sky FRB amateur project, but we'll talk about that another day, perhaps.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Steve. Well, thank you so much, Steve Oney. On behalf of our listeners, it's been really fabulous speaking with you. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, Brendan, and I thank you for the opportunity.
No. Thank you, Steve. Farewell for now.
See ya.
Right. Bring up that. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast. And that was Steve Onley, an interview with Brendan O'Brien from the astrophys.com podcast. And I want to thank Brendan for giving me permission to play some of his podcasts over the last few years. There's heaps more to go through. In fact, the reference to the other chap about pulsars made a few times during that interview. I might even play that interview for the next first broadcast into 2022. So catch up with that. So Steve, his call sign's VK2 X-ray Victor, VK2XV, and he lives up there at North Richmond in Sydney area. So amazing that he's able to detect the pulsar, as he says, at 400 megs. It's a much brighter source, and with our 8.5 metre dish up at Parks, up at Heathcote, we hope to be able to also do similar work that follow on the shoulder of giants, i.e. Steve, and be able to do a similar thing. So looking forward to being able to do that. Alright, let's now cut to Tamitha's quick report. It only goes for about a minute and 40 seconds. So let's see if I can just cue that up and see what she has to say about the latest thing with the sun. So stand by. Just do that. And knock the volume down. God.
A change is coming as space weather activity finally picks up this week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see the right half of the sun, that's the western side, really has not much going on. In fact, we had actually dropped to a spotless sun for a few days, so things were extremely quiet. But as you take a look at the left-hand side, that's the eastern side of the sun. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 active regions, maybe a fourth and more who are rotating into Earth view as we speak. We are boosting that solar flux. We're coming up into the 90s again. And in fact, we actually have a 5% chance of M-class flares right now, and that risk may be growing. So this means radio blackouts could definitely be on the menu. As we switch to our far-sighted sun, and this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a little bit from the side, you can see all those active regions plus a whole lot more that are forming and gurgling and burgling on the sun's far side. These have yet to rotate into Earth view, and you can see from the glow on the east limb in stereo's view that yes, there are even more active regions that are on their way. So definitely expect the M-class flare risk to boost, that solar flux to continue boosting, which means marginal radio propagation is going to go to good radio propagation on Earth's day side, and then the radio blackout risk could mean issues for GPS, but it also could mean issues for radio comms, for launches, and for space traffic. For more details on this week's space weather, including how these new active regions could affect you, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
Okay, thanks Tamitha for that quick report on the what's up with the sun. And spaceweather.com is actually showing quite a lot of interesting things as well. If we go to that right now, let's see, spaceweather.com. Yes. The solar wind is currently at 393.7 kilometers a second, at a density of 5.2 protons per cubic centimeter. If we look at the disk of the sun right now, we have 7 sunspots on the disk of the sun as we speak. So tomorrow, if you pull out your optical telescopes and put a solar filter, very important to put a solar filter, never look at the sun directly, put a solar filter onto the telescope, you should be able to see a swag of sunspots there. At the current sunspot number is 127, and the radio sun is currently, this is high, the radio sun is currently at 118 solar flux units, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters. So 118 solar flux units. Okay, and spaceweather.com, as Tamitha was saying, M-class solar flare. New sunspot AR2911 unleashed an M1 class solar flare during the early hours of December the 17th. A pulse of extreme UV radiation and X-ray ionized the top of the Earth's atmosphere, causing a shortwave radio blackout over the South Pacific. There are now at least 3 sunspots on the solar disk capable of producing flares of this magnitude. So Tamitha will give us a more detailed report in the next couple of days, which well, I know I'll run it over the TV repeater. I'm quite happy to do that, so I'll probably run it over. Well, I'll fire up the YouTube stream and also play it over YouTube as well. So you'll have to be around for that. Actually, if Tamitha's report comes out on Sunday morning when I do the WIA broadcast, I'll probably run Timothy's report straight after the WA broadcast on Sunday morning at 10:30 on the ATV repeater and the YouTube stream, which is visible on the ASV website. So I had a swag of other things there, but look at that, it's just clicked over the hours, so I think I will leave it with that. I was going to talk about the James Webb Telescope briefly. James Webb Telescope is going to carry out amazing science, and if all goes to plan, it is due to be launched sometime this month. I'm not going to specify a date, mainly because I can't see one here, but yeah, they're hoping to get this thing finally launched in the near future, so keep an eye on that. There's also a comet appearing in our skies very soon. Comet Leonard is approaching Venus later today. Comet Leonard, which is C/2021A1, will pass by Venus only 4.2 million kilometers away. It's the closest comet Venus encounter in recorded history, and there's a photograph of it there on spaceweather.com, but it is becoming a southern hemisphere object. So all I can suggest is to check out heavensabove.com. Heavensabove.com would give you an idea of the visibility options for Comet Leonard here in Melbourne, or the southern hemisphere at least. And it's brightening as far as I know, so it may very well become a fairly easy object by eye to see in a dark sky location. So yeah, Comet Leonard is what it's called, and it should be interesting to see if we can see that here in Melbourne with some degree. Alright, so you've been listening to VK3 ASV. I wish it was. Actually, I'm still waiting for the owner of VK3 ASV to free up his call sign. Anyway, you're tuned to VK3 EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, broadcasting since 1988, courtesy of Russell Ward, VK3DRW, who ran the broadcast for the first 20 years, and I've been doing it now for about 12 years or so, and shall continue doing it until I drop dead, perhaps, or something falls over. So thanks for everybody for viewing and watching the broadcast this year throughout 2021. It's been a bit of fun, and there's been some very interesting events that I've been quite happy to report. And I also got to thank Peter and Phil who look after the ATV repeater, VK3RTV. If you're in the Melbourne area, I would highly recommend that to see if you can get a chance to view or receive VK3RTV. It's located at Mount View, just at the back of the police academy. It's located on a 100-foot tower and runs about 100 watts DVB-T 2 high HD. So get a chance to view that, and yeah, we're trying to increase the numbers, so to speak. Anyway, thanks to the guys that have managed to keep this repeater up and running and going, because it's had a few little trips over the last few weeks. Also, like I say, I do the WIA broadcast on Sunday mornings on TV repeater, courtesy of Bevan, VK5 at Baker Delta. He does a wonderful job at the visual representation of the broadcast, so thanks Bevan for allowing me to rebroadcast that to you. Next every Tuesday at 7:30 there's the ATV QSO net, and that's currently being hosted by Ian, VK3 Quebec Lima. We had an ATV net last Tuesday where we had crosses to ATV stations in Adelaide and Port Fairy, and also across to VK2 RTV, I think it is, up there in Sydney. And yeah, so it turned out to be quite a decent little get together last Tuesday night. So they're the sorts of things that you can do with the HD ATV in general. for the ATV. Meanwhile, thanks again for being with us this year. It's been one of those horrible, sort of funny, weird years, and I don't expect it to be any different next year, to be honest, but let's hope things do improve along the way. So I shall say a happy Christmas to some and a Merry Christmas to others. Let's just hope that the Christmas you guys celebrate is a worthy one, and yeah, all the best for the new year. I'll be back on the 17th. No, that's when I go back to work. I'll be back on the 21st of December, so look out for us on that Friday, the 22nd of January. That's what I was trying to say. So this is the final transmission for the year. Thanks very much again for listening, and we shall close down this service on 160 on 1865, and standby stations on 80 metres for any callback. So this is VK3 EKH ASV radio, concluding transmissions on 1865. Again, any information about the ASV can be found at www.asv.org.au. VK3 EKH, concluding on 160, standby stations on 80. Waffle, waffle, waffle. Alright. Okay, do I have pen? Yes, I do have pen and paper. This is VK3 EKH, listening on 3541 for any stations wishing to check in.
VK3 HDX. VK3 Romeo Bendigo. VK3 KHT Upper Plenty. VK3 Victor India November Kangaroo Flat.
Okay, we've got VK3HDX, VK3JR, VK3BDA, VK3KHD, I think it was, and VK3VIN. Is there any other stations there? Thank you, David. VK2 Echo Lima Sierra. Any other stations? No worries, Andrew. Alright, we'll go to the top of the list. G'day, Don, VK3HDX, good signal from you, of course, VK3 EKH.
Yeah, VK3 EKH in the group, VK3 HDX. Excellent broadcast, Clint, really enjoyed it tonight. Steve is a fascinating guy. Thanks for everything you've done this year. It's been very entertaining and educational, and I really appreciate the effort that you put in. Compliments of the season to you, and let's hope next year is better, and to everybody else on the net as well. You got a few to get through, so I'll say all the best, and we'll talk to you next year. VK3 EKH and the group, VK3 HDX.
Good on you, Don. VK3HDX, VK3EKH. You're a good 30 over 9 here at Narre South, so a magnificent sounding signal. And I hope by the time I do come back next year, I'll have the Anand 8000 also ready to go, so I can fire that up maybe for the broadcast once or twice over the icon box here, so give the icon box a bit of a rest. But yeah, I'll see if I can get that SDR device running. All right, thank you, Don. Appreciate the comments. Frank, VK3 Juliet Radio, VK3 EKH, have a say.
VK3 EKH, VK3 JR, feel very strong tonight, Clint. Great broadcast, really interesting, and very interesting about sunspots. This is the highest sunspot number we have had, or even on this cycle, easily, and also the highest AMDEX output. Are you copying? My accounts had some trouble yet.
Yeah, we got you, Frank. You did drop out just for a second, but we still got you.
Okay.
And you're still dropping out.
Thank you, Rick. The number of exoplanets confirmed is 4,604, and there are 9 more awaiting confirmation. So, thank you for the whole year. It's been great. Looking forward to the next one. Have a great break. And best wishes to all the other stations on frequency, especially to you, Ian and Andrew. That's about it from me. Thanks again. VK3, VK3JR.
Good on you, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH. You're about 20 over 9. About 20 over 9. And coming through reasonably well. Yeah, there was a few little dropouts there for some reason, but you held in. We got 4,604 exoplanets, I think you said. 4,604 exoplanets found thus far, and that number, is always going up. So exoplanets, rather amazing how they discover these planets orbiting distant stars. It's just amazing technology that can be easily done by the amateur exoplanets. It really is quite amazing. Thanks, Frank, for that. Okay, Graham, VK3BDA, have a say.
Good evening, Clint, VK3 EKH, VK3BDA, the call sign of Bendigo section of the Astronomical Society, and thanks for the net, Clint, or thanks for the broadcast. Really interesting information there, and interviews, and Tamatha came across really clear as well. Always really good to catch up on all that information. Also our Bendigo section has been meeting regularly on Zoom, and the Zoom information is on the ASV website, members Zoom area, if anybody ever wants to participate. Of course, we never had one this month in December, but we'll look forward to reconvening next year, and perhaps meeting face-to-face more out at the dark sky side there, when the deep sky section meet each month. And so our Bendigo section members generally regularly show all the wonderful astrophotography photographs that they take in their backyards and the telescopes, which is absolutely amazing. It's incredible what the amateur astrophotographer can do these days. So I've been busy with the radio club, Bendigo Amateur Radio Electronics Club. We're heading up towards almost 80 members now, and we had our Christmas function recently at our headquarters in Bendigo Hall, which was really good. So that's going really well. We've got our mast up at our headquarters as well. It's about 90 or 20 metres high, and we'll be rolling up the antenna systems on that fairly soon. And I'll be doing my radio program tomorrow on Radio KLFM, and the science and technology report will be Einstein's theory passed with rigorous 16-year test, and the observations of the double pulsar in the past 16 years provided or proved to be amazingly consistent with Einstein's general theory of relativity, with 99.99% to be precise. So that's on 96.5 in Bendigo tomorrow, 106.3 Castlemaine at 4 o'clock, and klfm.com.au. Streamed on there as well, so just a little bit of other astronomy news getting around the radio band over the weekend. So with that, thanks for the broadcast throughout the year, Clint and management, to yourself and everybody, and Happy New Year. We'll catch you next time. VK3EKH, VK3BDA, the call sign of the Bendigo section of the ASV. Back to you, Clint.
Thanks, Graham. VK3BDA, call sign of the official call sign for the Bendigo District Astronomical Society, which is now of course, a section of the ASV. And I actually hear that there's a branch up in Shepparton, an astronomical society in Shepparton. I don't know the details exactly, but there's some suggestion that they may also become a section to the ASV. Not 100% sure on all that, but anyway, it'll be cool. Another society amalgamating with the ASV. Just goes to show how good our dark sky site is. Anyway, very good. Thanks, Graham. You're 10 to 15 over 9. 10 to 15 over 9 here, down here. And I should listen in to your FM broadcast, FM 96.5, and via the stream. So I keep thinking about doing it, but I forget. And by the time I remember again, it's long past. So it'd be cool to have a listen in to that at some point. I'll try to do that tomorrow if I remember. Thanks, Graham. Okay, I think it was Bill, VK3KHT for Tango. I think I had the wrong letter down. I thought it was D, but I think it's Bill. VK3KHT. Have a say, Bill. VK3EKH. It was D. Oh, maybe it was D. Yeah, KHD, is it Kilo Hotel Delta or Kilo Hotel Tango? I'm not sure. Go ahead, the station. Oh, well, no one's there. Put it across to Ian, VK3VIN, VK3EKH.
I'm taking this position by default, I think. VK3EKH, VK3VIN. Another great broadcast. Thanks, Clint. And the beauty of this one is it was solid 30 over 9 right the way through. Normally we get some USB and some phasing, taking it down to about 10 dB over 9, or sometimes straight 5 and 9. But tonight, 30 dB over. Right the way through, except for the last little bit where we got a bit of the old QS butcher, baker, I think. So another great broadcast, and the interview was fascinating. And my little brain was working overtime, imagining that yardage and its use and development and everything. So very good. It's nice to stretch the brain at this hour of the evening. And of course, Tamitha and her space weather. Always good listening, and I'll listen for a notification when the YouTube Tamitha comes up through the ASB YouTube site, because I've got the notifications checked. Thanks for all your work this year, for all the broadcasts, and some fascinating, interesting, educational, challenging subject matter. And I'm sure that we'll have a heap more in the new year. 5 and 9 plus 30, please, and a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. VK3EKH, VK3VIN.
Thanks, Ian. VK3VIN, VK3EKH returning. Very good. Excellent signal from you too. 10 to 15 over 9. 10 to 15 over 9, peaking 20. So not a bad signal coming in from Kangaroo Flat. And yes, I'm looking forward to a second interview with Steve. Not that I'm aware that that Brendan's going to do that, but I think given the experience that Steve has gained from his Vela Pulsar work, as he said towards the end of that interview, he was keen to look up fast radio bursts, and I think he'd be able to do it, given his fascination in being able to look out for such things. So it'd be interesting to see what he's done. But check his website out, the Neutron Star website that he made reference to, because he might be, I haven't checked it for a while, but he might be actually getting some information out there about his fast radio burst research. Maybe there is something that he's done thus far. So we'll have to check that out. Okay, thanks, Ian. Really good to hear, and likewise, all the best for Christmas. Not that far away. Across to David, VK2 Echo Lima Sierra. Let's hope the signal holds up tonight. VK2 ELS, VK3 EKH.
VK3 EKH, VK2 Echo Lima Sierra. Yeah, Robbie is job for us, nice job. I particularly enjoyed the segment. Steve has done a great job, and I really appreciated everything that was dedicated to the pulsar signal, tracking the dispersion, the downshifting of the frequency that goes through different parts of the unit cell medium. Very, very interesting. I've done my job tonight, and the signal coming up working tonight. I'm not sure how well it is going up your way. Thank you very much for during the year. This is things up. It's going to be an interesting time for the astronomy. We're going to the telescope sometime this week, I think. There you go. Best wishes to everybody. And to the rest of the community, I wish you clear skies. VK3 EKH, VK2 Echo Lima Sierra.
No worries, David. VK2 ELS, VK3 EKH replying. Yeah, good copy tonight. Just 5 and 9, exactly 5 and 9, coming down from you up there at Coffs Harbour. So it's definitely better than previous weeks. But thanks for the good wishes, and likewise, I tend to agree that the amateur fraternity are doing amazing things with discovery of objects in the sky, whether it be pulsars or, in this case with Steve, or even discovering asteroids that haven't been discovered yet, and I know, and comets as well. I know there's a bunch of optical astronomers out there that have got their observatories absolutely peaked and tuned to be able to discover comets that haven't been found yet, and or asteroids. So yeah, very good. But the amateur fraternity, it's just amazing, the fellows out there and what they're up to. The modest systems that they've got, maybe not so modest, because honestly some of these optical installations are very expensive. The amount of money that they pour into their telescopes and these very sensitive cameras that they attach to the telescopes, and can be a definitely money pit, astronomy, just as much as ham radio can be. Anyway, thanks David for the good wishes, and likewise, and to the society as well. Thank you very much appreciated for sure. Alright, across to Andrew, VK3KIS, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, VK3EKIS. Good evening, Captain Orman Group. Everyone has Christmas this year, and 2022 is definitely better than the last 2 years. May the year bring lots of joy. But as far as astronomy is concerned, I've been playing with the optical side, and having a bit of a struggle with understanding what I'm doing with some of the software. I can't get to look through the eyepiece. I've been using one of these with the LPI type cameras and I don't know what the I stands for, type devices, and boy, does it generate a lot of data. I've been getting files from multiple gigabytes of space, and the poor computer starts sweating bullets trying to keep up with it. Anyway, so everyone has a great break, and thank you for doing it. VK3EKH, VK3KIS.
Oh, big burst of lightning. VK3KIS, VK3EKH. Yep, excellent. Well, I was going to say excellent signal, not quite excellent. You're about the same signal as Dave was actually. VK2 ELS. You're 5 and 9, hanging in there on 5 and 9. But anyway, we copied pretty much most of what you were saying, and I hope to drag out my telescope actually over the next few weeks. The Celestron 800, 8-inch Celestron. It hasn't seen too many nights yet, but I'm going to check out the weather and make sure that it's okay. But I'll take it out there and see if I can also take a little bit of viewing of the sky as well. I need to get familiar with its alignment procedure. I really need to get that nutted out, so I don't have to keep referring to the manual. So we'll have a bit of a play with that. And I don't have a camera for that telescope yet that I can attach to it, although I do have a dedicated support device for the mobile phone, so I can actually place the mobile phone up at the eyepiece with this special adapter. So I might have a bit of a play with that as well. And I do have a solar filter too. I haven't used it yet, but I do have a solar filter, and I might have a bit of a play with that too over the next 3 weeks and give a bit of a report when I come back on it. Anyway, alright, now I'll take one more listen on the air and see if there's anybody else wishing to check in. Maybe Bill, VK3KHT is there. VK3EKH, listening for anybody else?
VK3VAT, just checking in.
No worries, Tony. The VK2 station, was that you, David? Oh, just a bit too quick. I didn't quite catch what you were saying. A little bit quick for me. Have another say? Interesting. Okay, thanks, David. All right, we'll see how we go on that. Because, like I say, I haven't quite had a good play with it yet, and I'm sure there'll be probably a few little pitfalls or traps. So, okay, I've made a note of that, and hopefully I'll won't have too many problems. I shouldn't have. I don't think I should have, but you never know with these things. God. Anyway, thanks, David. We'll see how we go. I'll give a report when I get back on there next year. All right, and Tony, VK3VAT, you called in just at the end there. Yeah, did you want to say anything?
Oh, I never say anything, couldn't you know that?
Jeez. All right, no worries. I'll just check one more time. Anybody else wanting to have a say? VK3EKH. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks very much, everybody. Much appreciated. Thanks for sticking there with me for this last 12 months. It's been quite good. And like I say, I'll have 3 weeks off and come back on the 21st of January, same time at 10 o'clock, and on the repeater. And I'll get the audio stream working, so I'll have the audio stream functioning. And try and clean up the shack here so things are a little bit easy to operate when it comes to running the podcast, because it's still too many things I have to get ready for that, so I'll have a play with that too. Anyway, cheers everyone, take care, look after yourselves, Merry Christmas and a Happy Christmas, and best for the new year, and take care, look after yourselves. This is VK3EKH with VK3CSJ on the microphone, concluding transmissions for this year on 80 metres. Cheers everyone, take care. Alright. right. And yes, to everybody who was up on the chat window there too, Martin, VK7JH, Cassiopeia, and Richard, thanks for joining us there on the chat window. Not many people rolled up tonight by the looks of it, but there it is. And to anybody who's still listening on the email there, Ian, Andrew and Don, who sent me emails, all very good. I should mention that before I finished up on 180 metres, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, alright, I don't think there's much further here. I've just about done all I can. I was going to talk about where is it? Where's my internet here? What was it? What happened to it? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's not very big. Yeah, whatever. No, just an interesting little article I would have liked to have read out. Had we made an object that can travel at 1% the speed of light? While 1% of anything doesn't sound like much, with light that's still really fast, close to 7 million miles per hour. So I was going to have a little read of that, what that might have been about, but I suppose I could leave that until next year if I remember it. But yeah. And there was another thing I was going to mention too, the Rubin Observatory. How to get ready to how do you get ready to install the largest camera ever built for astronomy? That was going to be an interesting article too. I've got an interesting little gift image of that. I was going to show. Let me see if I can run that just for a second. It's a bit confusing when you look at this GIF animated image. So how's that look on TV?
That's going very, very fast.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can control that. I'm not sure. Maybe I can pause it. So I can pause it. Oh no. It's kicking off again. Yeah, anyway, that was downloaded off the Rubin Observatory website, and that's where's the article? Oh yeah, I just read that. So the article here is yeah, okay. The Rubin Observatory's mission is to build a well-understood system that will produce an unprecedented astronomical data set for studies of the deep and dynamic universe, make the data widely available or accessible to a diverse community of scientists, and engage the public to explore the universe with us. So the goal of the Vera Rubin Observatory project is to conduct a 10-year legacy survey of space and time. We'll deliver a 500 petabyte set of images and data products that will address some of the most pressing questions about the structure and evolution of the universe and the objects in it. The Rubin Observatory, LSST, is designed to address 4 science areas: probe dark energy and dark matter, taking an inventory of the solar system, exploring the transient optical sky, and mapping the Milky Way. The scientific questions that Rubin Observatory will address are profound, and yet the concept behind the design of the Rubin Observatory is remarkably simple, i.e. conduct a deep sky survey over an enormous area of the sky, do it with a frequency that enables images of every part of the visible sky to be obtained every few nights and continue in this mode for 10 years to achieve astronomical catalogues thousands of times larger than have ever previously been compiled. So it's an 8.4 meter telescope. Uses a special 3-mirror design which creates an exceptionally wide field of view and has the ability to survey the entire sky in only 3 nights. The Rubin Observatory Summit facility is located on the Cerro Piacon Ridge in north-central Chile. The observatory site is inland and approximately 60 metres or 100 kilometres by road from the town of La Serena, where the Rubin Observatory base facility is located. The camera. The Rubin Observatory camera must produce data of extremely high quality with minimal downtime and maintenance in order to take advantage of high quality images produced over such a wide field. The camera contains over 3 billion pixels of solid state detectors. Software is one of the most challenging aspects of the Rubin Observatory, as more than 20 terabytes of data must be processed and stored each night. So there it is, the Vera Rubin Observatory project mission, and they're just about to install the camera, which is all that stuff happening on the screen just there. If I go to the latest news, they talk about that briefly. And it happened on the 7th of December, by the way. It's a camera lift practice run, that's what it is. December the 7th, just a few days ago, on a sunny day at the end of November, the team on the summit of Cerro Piacon, I don't know how you pronounce that, completed the big task. And the camera surrogate mass is a steel structure that approximates the mass of the camera assembly. So it's kind of a test run to see whether the system can handle the actual weight of the camera. Probably a good idea. The last thing you want to do is to drop a very expensive camera onto the ground. Yeah, so there you go. Anyways, alright, I think my stream dropped out later tonight too. I was when
you got a double stream there.
Oh well, I don't know why that happens, but it did. It was halfway through Steve's interview, and I happened to be looking at vMix, and all of a sudden I saw the red on vMix where you've got stream that goes red, and that just dropped out. That just disappeared for a second, and then I noticed the audio level on the interview had stopped, and I thought, any second the interview is just going to go dead. And I thought, this is just exactly what I need right now. But the interview kept on going. The sound didn't drop out, fortunately. It took about 5 seconds or so, but the audio started to react again on vMix, even though it never stopped. But the stream kicked on again. So as soon as I saw it drop out and start again, I figured, I bet you there's two things. So there'll be a loop running somewhere, because when that happens, it's the channel or the video that's running is looped. It might be only a few seconds, but it's looped. So I'll have to. The only way I can get there is go into my YouTube channel and delete that, stop it and delete it from being a pest, which I'll have to do. Go downstairs, or I can probably do it here.
I don't know why it does that. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, well, it is. I look at the vMix setup here for the YouTube, and they've got 2 buttons. It's either stop all or stop one, so you can have multiple streams going if you want. And since I've been finding out about this strange dual streaming thing happening, I only activate the one stream because it gives you this option to start one stream. So I've only been clicking on that rather than start all. And so I thought it might have fixed it, but it seems like something glitched. Maybe it was that Vela pulsar glitching. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, so that's the story, and we're sticking to it. Alright, I don't know if there's much more I can persevere with here, so it's 11:40. I might go downstairs and have some ice cream. And call it quits for the time being. So everybody who's still watching TV system, John BLX, you might be watching there. You haven't said anything tonight. Anybody else there watching ATV, send us an email, vk3ekh@gmail.com will do, because I'll see it straight here on this system here, and we'll go with that. So anyway, all you guys watching TV, have a great Christmas, and all the best for the new year. Let's hope that 2022 is actually just that little bit better. But I have a strange suspicion that here in Victoria or Melbourne we're going to go through another peak of this virus, and because everybody's going to be out and about this Christmas break, New Year's Eve, there's going to be people mingling, and they're not going to be wearing masks, and they're just going to ignore all the troubles and think that we've got two vaccinations and a booster coming up. We should be right. So what's the word? Can't think of the word. Anyway, alright, that's it from me. So this is VK3 EKH, aka VK3CSJ, concluding transmissions via the repeater, and we'll be back on Sunday morning at 10:30, and if Tamitha has her video release, I shall follow up with her full solar report, and then of course Tuesday's ATVNet with Ian. We didn't get to see Neil come through on Tuesday night. I'm not sure what happened there, but they were going to say that maybe Ian was going to come up on the net from his location. Nobody has revealed where he is, so they're making it quite a secret as to where he's gone. So I guess only he can really reveal where he's located. Probably some beautiful place on Hawaii overlooking the gorgeous blue ocean, half his luck. Anyway, enough of that. So we shall depart the scene. Cheers everyone, take care, look after yourselves, and we shall say cheers for now. I don't know if this test pattern is my musical test pattern or the tone test pattern. I'll find out. Anyway, see you Tony, see you Richard, and anybody else who's watching. Good evening for now.